The Speaker of the County Assembly of Nairobi, Honorable Benson Mutura, has been sworn in office as the new governor for Nairobi. He will act for 60 days. What that move means is very simple. That the people of Nairobi will have to go to the polls. IBC must prepare and conduct another election for the governor of Nairobi within 60 days. Which means in simple terms, today is 21st. By 22nd of February, the issue of electing the next governor of Nairobi shall have been concluded. It's that simple. But that move now put President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga in a very tight corner. Nairobi gubernatorial seat, in my view, is critical for 2022 general election. It's also very critical for the Building Bridges Initiative referendum. Nairobi will also determine the future of the handshake. Because let's face it, in the last election, Nairobians voted for President Uhuru Kenyatta, and they also voted for Raila Odinga overwhelmingly. Raila carried the day in Nairobi. Uhuru Kenyatta was number 2. And Mike Sonko, who emerged the winner, actually beat both President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga in Nairobi. And yesterday, Mike Sonko, after he was impeached, decided to test his strength in Nairobi. And he moved across several sub-counties within Nairobi. And his message was very clear, that he's going to support the hustler nation. So basically, we are staring at a possibility of Mike Sonko, the Sonkore, teaming up with William Samoei Ruto against Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga. So today I want us to look at the headache which Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga are facing as we head to the Nairobi gubernatorial by-election. But before we do that, if you're watching this video for the first time, I want you to just take a second or two and click the subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. And by the way, we are in the Christmas week. So, cheza kama wewe. Those my friends, you can play the way you normally play. You know it. So back to the main issue. A combination of William Ruto and a combination of Mike Sonko and a combination of, assuming William Kabogo is going to join them, and a combination of Margaret Wanjiru in Nairobi is a lethal combination. What William Ruto will need is to get a right candidate and then pair that candidate with a non-Sonko supporter. Let's say then Simon Mbugua. And then they'll be home and dry. So, in my view, Uhuru and Raila are facing the following headache. Number one is the fact that William Ruto is a populist politician. Mike Sonko is also a populist politician. Mike Sonko was able to be elected as the governor of Nairobi because of the support he got from the slums. In fact, when Kidero first contested in 2013, he was voted in because the people of Nairobi wanted someone, a technocrat, who could run the county. In his first term in office, Kidero never really delivered. So when Sonko offered himself, Sonko realized the mistakes Kidero was making and then tried to fill those gaps. Because let's face it, the major failure of Kidero was failing to deal with the slums. The basic needs of the slums were very simple. They just needed clean water. Give them clean water, which they normally buy. When there's a problem, when there's a water shortage, you just provide them with clean water. Then apart from that, the people of the slums just needed basic things. Make environment conducive for them. Kidero failed those. So Mike Sonko understands populist politics. Politics which resonates well, especially with the poor. So if you combine Mike Sonko and William Ruto, who is also another populist politician, then Uhuru and Raila, Uhuru is a prince, and Raila, who has been selling hope to the people, are in big problem. Because Raila Odinga has been selling this hope for long, and people are now feeling that probably he might not do it. And of late, if you've been reading William Ruto's strategy, it's like he has started selling the hope. And anytime the deputy president is speaking, you would always see him with notes. He's selling hope. The hope that you don't need to be a son of anybody to be something. So the populist politics, if you combine them, it's going to be serious problem for the two guys. Although I know, like in the slums, what Uhuru did, and sometimes I think Uhuru is a very smart politician. When Uhuru brought Majabadi into Nairobi politics as the Director General of the Nairobi Metropolitan Services, one thing he decided to do was to go to the slums. And in the slums today, Uhuru Kenyatta has managed to deal with the water problems. So today, Mike Sonko cannot go with the Sonko rescue team, those bowsers, to give the people of the slums water. Because Uhuru Kenyatta and Majabadi have actually drilled boreholes, and water is now available at a cheap price to the slum dwellers. But that combination is lethal. Number two is the sympathy. You know, Sonko has been kicked out. Waiguru was not kicked out. So what sin did Waiguru commit, Sonko commit, which Waiguru, for example, did not commit? Again, Waititu was kicked out. And Waiguru came, faced the Senate, was saved. So this kind of sympathy which Sonko is going to attract, his impeachment. Although I was surprised that Sonko was just impeached like that and there were no demonstrations in town and the rest. But ultimately, inwardly, there are people who are sympathetic to Mike Sonko. They feel that Sonko is being removed because he's a son of nobody. Those are the realities we must face as a country. And that sympathy is going to work in his favor in so many ways. You know, when someone appears to be subdued, then you send him out. The only mistake Sonko did was the way he was managing the city, dancing, insulting everybody and any other person. Personally, there was a time I remember when myself and another friend, like a very good friend, comes from Mumias. It's called the Stereo Kumu. By the way, I need to call him to understand the dynamics in Malava. So Sonko did something, and we were just reminding him, oh, as a governor, you don't need to do things like this. You need to do them like this. Hey, ile matusi tolepata, hiyo siku, it was bad. So the sympathy is going to get, especially if the campaign, if the person they're going to support is going to win, manage to craft a strategy and appeal to the hearts and the emotions of the voters, then they'll draw that sympathy. Number three is the Kikuyu factor. Anybody who has followed the politics of Nairobi should have realized one thing, that the politics of Nairobi has always revolved around three communities, majorly. The Luyas, the Kikuyus, and the Luos from 1992. Even the distribution of constituencies in Nairobi, the voting pattern is always just like that. I can take you through. You go to Westlands, lawyers. Their brothers Luos will always vote for them there. You go to Madaraka, the Luos and the lawyers always team up. So in most cases, they always win, but sometimes the other side takes. So Nairobi is very interesting in terms of that. That's why Simbarati decided to create another constituency for the Kisis, which is Dagoretti. Then he sided with the ODM so that he could get the lawyers, the Luo votes, and if you combine with the Kisi, he's home and dry. Because during the ODM nominations, you'll definitely find very many lawyers in that constituency. So there's this Kikuyu factor. Is William Ruto still the king? Is President Uhuru Kenyatta still controlling the Kikuyu votes in Nairobi? Or do we assume that those votes went with William Samoei Ruto? That's the headache. Because for the Luos, Raila Odinga will just deliver them. I'm sure even the lawyers in Nairobi will vote with the Luo brothers, because the political class there have mastered how they normally play their politics, which is different. Even the Luos from Ngoma, who are normally in Ford, Kenya, when it comes to Nairobi politics, they vote together with the Luos. So the question Uhuru and Raila must ask themselves is the Kikuyu factor. Is William Ruto still controlling the Kikuyu votes, or is Uhuru Kenyatta still the king? If the answer is favoring Uhuru Kenyatta, then they will easily win. But if not, then there's a problem. Because Kikuyus are a majority tribe, single tribe in Nairobi. So what it will mean, Sonko will come and convince the lawyers to vote together. Not lawyers, Sonko will come and convince the Kambas, because he's a son of the Kamba. He will convince Kambas to come and vote for him as a bloc. So it's going to be very simple. So if Ruto is controlling Kikuyus in Nairobi, then Sonko brings the Kamba votes, then still there's a problem there. But if it's 50-50, then Sonko will be facing a challenge there. But what we also know is that Kikuyus will always vote for themselves, for one of their own. So if they're going to have a candidate, either Kabogo, and that's where there's a challenge. If Kabogo or Margaret Wanjiru will be on the other side for Ruto, then they get a Kamba running mate, then there's a problem for Uhuru and Raila. So they must figure out how they are going to deal with the Kikuyu factor in Nairobi. Number 4 is the Building Bridges Initiative campaigns. Is the BBI going to be a factor in Nairobi election? In my view, yes. Why? Kenyans are going for Christmas. They'll come back in January. January is a very dangerous month. By the way, you guys need to start helping me. January inakwanga ngumu. Msikunywe yote, mzingine murushe huko. So January inakwanga ngumu. And that will be the time people will be campaigning. You don't have rent. People are going to schools. And then there's a by-election. And apart from that, there is the COVID also. Then, the other team can come and tell you guys that these guys, they don't care. They removed Sonko. They're spending money on the by-election. Because IBC must spend money. Then apart from that, Bado, they're still campaigning for the Building Bridges Initiative process at the expense of helping Kenyans. So how the BBI campaigns is going to be managed, especially the propaganda. I've told my friends that the major problems the BBI team is facing is that they don't have a clear messaging strategy. They're not breaking it to the people so that people can really understand how the BBI process is going to help them. In fact, the only thing which is going to help Uhuru and Raila in Nairobi is Mejabadi. Because what that guy has done within this short time cannot be compared to what Sonko did, what Kidero did. But the Building Bridges Initiative process is going to be a factor. So if it becomes unpopular by the day, if Kenyans will reject it as the campaign kicks on, then it's going to be a challenge. But if it will be popular, then they'll have an easy ride. Number 5 is the hustler narrative. Mike Sonko was elected as the governor of Nairobi from nobody. He has a history, a criminal history. But apart from that, Sonko comes from a very humble background. So he managed to hustle his ways around and became the governor of Nairobi. What Sonko achieved, very few people will ever achieve in this life. So he's a typical hustler. And I remember at one point, Mutura asking Ahmed Nasir why he's not supporting Sonko, because Sonko is the real hustler by definition. So it will be possible for the hustler nation to craft a narrative that Sonko is being kicked out because he comes from a very poor background. Nobody knows his background. And he refused to play balls. That he wanted to support the poor. These guys were not comfortable. And lastly is the Kamba Factor. Do you know why Sonko managed to win in the last election? Or why his votes were more than those of Raila and those of Uhuru? Are you aware? It's the Kamba votes. Kamba were in NASA. Kamba were in NASA. And Sonko is a Kamba. And Sonko was running on... Sonko was a Kamba and was running on Jubilee. So the voting pattern was very simple. It was the Kikuyus in Nairobi, specifically in Nairobi. Kikuyus were on one side, and the rest of the country were with Raila Odinga, including the Kambas. So when the final tally were announced for the presidential, Raila emerged the winner in Nairobi. So that's sorted. So the expectation was that if Raila was going to be the leader there, if Raila was leading in Nairobi, then Kidero was automatically going to lead. But that did not happen. Sonko ended up, Mike Sonko, ended up with the highest votes because the Kambas who voted for Raila Odinga, the Kikuyus who voted for Sonko, who voted for Uhuru Kenyatta, ended up voting for Mike Sonko. Basically, the people who voted for Jubilee in Nairobi voted for Sonko. But the Kambas who voted for Raila Odinga then decided not to vote for Kidero. They voted for Mike Sonko. And that's how Sonko won. So the population of Kambas in Nairobi cannot be underestimated. The Kambas in Nairobi can easily determine who becomes the next president, the next governor for Nairobi. No doubt about that. So those are some of the political headaches which are giving William Ruto, which are giving Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga sleepless nights. I don't know what you think. Let me hear your thoughts. But the truth of the matter is that we are now going to go for an election. Thank you guys, and may you have a good day.